It's Minister John Carson here, and welcome back to Behind the Man. In our last episode, we discussed the very moving history of my dad's family life and the great pain as well as pleasure that he went through in order to become the father, pastor, and apostle that he is today. When we consider the very drama-filled history of Dr. Carson's life, we can't help but to be encouraged by the mercy and power of God. If you were to go back into his previous life and talk with some of his old friends from the streets and tell them that Dana's a pastor, they would say, no way. Dana used to play like he was a preacher on the bus filled with people with his friends, Joey, Larry, and Darnell. He would act in a southern vernacular, a plumb fool. But while we may have laughed and mocked preachers, God would ultimately get the last laugh. You see, Dr. Carson was not only called to preach, but to start his own church in a city that was known as the Preacher's Graveyard, Austin, Texas, the home of atheism and liberal thought and spiritualism. Austin was known as the place, especially in the African American community, where the preachers fell at building churches. The city had great preachers assigned to them from well-known denominations, but many of them failed. The only churches that had some footing were the traditional Baptist and the Methodist Church. Well, this didn't stop my dad from starting Praise Tabernacle on December 5th, 1986, in the home of Marie and Kenneth Hargrove with just 9 charter members. Dr. Carson's church began with just 9 people in the house, and in less than 15 years, the church had grown to over 5,000 members. You see, Dr. Carson had become a household name and was on radio and television across the entire nation. Dr. Carson became so popular in the city that the former Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock referred to him as his pastor and would have him to pray for the Senate every single time it was in session. You see, Dr. Carson had built the largest church under black leadership at that time. My dad was the only preacher that ever preached in the Frank Urban Center, where he was summoned by the Roman Catholic Church to preach a Y2K service to unite the church that was on the potential brink of chaos. He was known as one of the top preachers in the country, as people just mesmerized with his fluent usage of both Greek and Hebrew as he unfolded God's Word. Dr. Carson, after building one of the most powerful churches that have ever come through Austin, Texas, was commanded by God to leave Austin and go to Houston. After 17 years of ministry, building a mega church, having an affluent lifestyle that included 2 homes, luxury vehicles, and a very powerful church, he left it all because of the word of the Lord. People were wondering what was happening, but this modern day apostle was on his way to a destiny designed by God. Dr. Carson, his wife, and 5 kids were off to Houston by way of Alvin, Texas. Now, Alvin begins a whole other episode in the life of Dr. Dana Carson. And if you'd like to know more about his life, be sure to get a copy of How to Overcome, a series about overcoming life's obstacles. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But make sure you join us here every single day as we go even deeper behind the man. Also, be sure to like, share, and repost this mini-series every single day. And I'll see you back here tomorrow.